was actually 9 months after I'd left Universal. I got an offer to do a live television show. Nobody had been wanting to trust me to do live television. I mean, how can this girl do this? You know, she won't remember her lines. She has no experience. And the script was wonderful. It was a Robert Montgomery Presents. These shows got attention from, you know, everyone in the country watched them in those days. My part was very dramatic, and I couldn't understand how they had decided to offer this to me, but I said yes, you know, and I flew to New York and got a friend to let me stay with her in the village, and I felt I was a New York actress at last, which was my plan, had been my plan. I knew I could do it. I mean, I'd done theater when I was 11 years old. And I'd worked hard in acting class, and for my age, I was pretty experienced. And I showed up for the first day of rehearsal. I think we had 2 weeks of rehearsal for those hour-long live shows. And sitting across the table was my old friend from acting class who had directed me in the play I'd done that was my audition piece at Universal. And he was grinning at me, and he was there. He was going to be playing my boyfriend in the show. As it turned out, he was a good friend of the director and had said, you know, she's a good actress. She could do this. And that's how my life was changed through this dear old friend who stayed my friend for almost 50 years. Bob Richards. And I did the show scared to death.
Scared because it's live or because?
Because it was live. The idea that everyone in the country would be watching it, and it was highly emotional, and it demanded more than technique. And I worked well and hard, but my friend Bob would whisper in my ear during rehearsals, especially dress rehearsals, you know, save it. You're playing too fully. You'll have nothing left by the time we do this, the live show. Well, it's good advice, but I didn't know how to do that. You know, I didn't know. In those days, it was all or nothing. You know, but I was young enough, and it meant I had the energy, and so that we did the show, and it was full, and I made a mistake. I had to take down this huge portrait of my mother in the last scene and throw it. And we couldn't rehearse it because they only had a budget for one portrait. So I'm strong. I knew I'd be okay. And I threw it, and I hit the camera that was shooting me. So it would shake. It was an extraordinary effect. And when the show was over, Robert Montgomery himself came over to me, and he said, well, Palmer, you're going to have to pay for that camera. And I was in such a state, and I thought he was serious. He was joking. But the next day, we all went out and had something to eat, and the next day I had an appointment to go up to my agent's office, the William Morris agency. I'd never been up there because their hands were tied. They couldn't do anything for me anyway. And I went up there, and I met with the head of the office, and he said, I just came from lunch with Joe Mankiewicz, who saw your performance last night. He thought it was he raved about how wonderful it was. And I didn't believe him. And I just burst. Well, I did and I didn't. And I started to cry.
Joe Mankiewicz is the Academy Award-winning writer and director.
Yes, the great, extraordinary, talented. Actually, they got Mankiewicz on the telephone to tell me the same thing because I really didn't believe it. And that's when I started to cry. And I don't like crying in front of people in real life.